no. So, just so you can move anywhere.
Okay.
I will change the camera if I need to, but that's kind of what your view is going to
What
be.
it looks
Is that
like.
okay?
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming to hear Doro speak today. She is our first speaker in our series called Faith and the intention of St. Andrew's and our leadership here is simply to try to take our daily life and see where it intersects with faith or spirituality. So some of our talks are heavier on the God side and some of them are lighter on the God side, but the intention is just to look for those intersections in daily life between God and how we live. And so we have invited Doro. She was going to speak last year for us, but we had a hurricane. Little small thing. And the committee's hope in inviting her to speak, because if you have Googled her at all, hopefully what you have come across is her wonderful business that she has with her sister-in-law, Tricia, called Bold, Bright, and Real. And they have several mindfulness and gratitude workshops, conferences that they do during the year. And they have been partnering, I think, with Vanderbilt for one of them. Is that right? Georgetown. I'm sorry, with Georgetown. And so my thought was last year, coming out of the pandemic, we all needed a little moment to just take a breath, to breathe, and to be aware of our surroundings and how we are expressing our gratitude. And I thought, who better to do that than someone who has that as their focus. And so even more so, as some of you are just getting back into your homes post-Hurricane Ian. Anybody still doing work on their homes? Yeah. It's a little bit frustrating, I know. It's been a long road. And so today, my prayers will be for you as you try to get that accomplished. The brochure offers some of the other things that are happening in terms of our lecture series that we have, if you take that home with you. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce Doro to you.
Thank you, Mother Michelle, for that very warm welcome, and I very much appreciate the opportunity to share what I've learned in and around health and wellness for the last 20 years. I came to this work by necessity. Life can be and is challenging at times, and I needed tools. In fact, just a little heads up, in a few minutes, I'll be introducing you to one of those tools, which is guided meditation. Many of you, I know, have already experienced guided meditation, and maybe some of you haven't. But more on that later. I come from a family that has not spent much time in obscurity. Growing up with a family in the spotlight has its benefits and its challenges, and my family has been in public life my entire life. John Meacham told me that no other American woman ever lived to see her father and her brother become president. The only other contender was Abigail Adams Smith, whose nickname was Nabby, and she died a decade before her brother became president. And I'm sure glad I lived to see my brother. Nevertheless, I was able to keep my private life out of view, but that doesn't mean I escaped the feeling of my family living under a microscope and the effects of living that way for years. Still, life went along, and I started my own family. In my early days as a parent, I began, as Michelle mentioned, a fast and strong friendship with my sister-in-law, Tricia Riley. Tricia was married to my husband's beloved brother, who died from pancreatic cancer just about 10 years ago. We both had 4 children around the same ages, and eventually we became business partners. It was through her work that I got introduced to the wellness area and began to cultivate an understanding of the importance of mindfulness. Tricia always had an interest in nutrition, and well-being. When our children were small, she went through extensive training to be a health coach. I learned from her the importance of taking responsibility for my own health. And in the years we were raising our children, we took regular walks. We discussed all the problems, all of our problems and all the problems of the world. We didn't solve many of them. But I did notice how calm it made me to spend time in nature and to connect deeply with someone who shared my experience. The more I gleaned from Tricia and her studies, the more curious I got. Our conversation sparked an interest in mindfulness. I started slowly, but before long, practicing mindfulness became instrumental in my own life, especially in times of stress. Tricia and I took the conversation we'd been having in the woods and along the Potomac River out into our community. We began talking about nutrition and mindfulness because people were curious. This happened on the sidelines of the soccer field, at church, at meetings, you name it. And we were thrilled to find that people wanted to hear what we had to say. They were hungry for strategies and alternatives to the quick way of life that is in Washington, D.C., and in many other places as well. But what began as a personal passion eventually developed into a business. We started our wellness advisory company, BB&R, over 20 years ago. We've really grown in so many ways since those early days. For the past 2 decades, we've been inviting experts to our platform to share everything from nutrition to brain health to relationship health to addiction to conscious parenting to aging to mental wellness. We cover anything related to health, which touches all things. We began with individuals and businesses and then started organizing conferences. The first one was our Achieving Optimal Health that Michelle referenced, which we held annually at Georgetown University, our partner, for 12 years until pivoting to an online format after 2020. In that same year, we launched a new in-person event called Foundations of Wellbeing that takes place right here in Boca Grande. We held that just a few months ago in November at the Gasparilla Inn. And we love bringing people together to learn and to share. But still, we couldn't get enough of learning and wanted to keep sharing outside of these events. So we created a podcast where we interview a new expert each week. It's called Health Gig. And over the years, we've interviewed hundreds of fascinating authors and healers and scientists and artists and public speakers and thinkers. And to date, we've recorded over 400 episodes. We love having these conversations and sharing them with our listeners. Our talks cover a vast array of topics, and we have a deep respect for something called bioindividuality. Each of us is an individual, and we all need different information at different times in our lives. We don't advocate one idea over another or make pronouncements that about things everyone should do. In fact, we try to avoid the word should at all. Instead, we offer information for people to take or leave, because what might work for me may not work for you. What works at age 20 may not work at age 40 or 60 or 80. What we do know is that it's important to be educated. I'm so grateful to have learned so much from the experts who have been part of our community. And just like so many of the people we reach, I too am a learner on my own path. Today, I want to share with you one facet of my learning that has intrigued me deeply. It's something that has made my life demonstrably better, and the more I learn, the more I want to share this with others. It's one thing that we can all truly benefit from at every point in our lives. And what I'm talking about is gratitude. Every day, I get more and more convinced of its importance for all of us. So many of our speakers at our conferences and guests on Health Gig touch on it in one way or another as having a profound effect on their lives. So, what do we mean by gratitude? The dictionary defines gratitude as the quality of being thankful. So think about that. When we talk about the qualities a person has, we often talk about things like confidence or sense of humor. Well, being thankful is a quality. It's something we possess and can also strengthen. The dictionary also describes gratitude as readiness to show appreciation for and return kindness. I like that it starts with readiness. Gratitude doesn't just mean being capable. Being ready implies you've done some kind of preparation. You're primed for showing appreciation. I like this part because it hints at gratitude being a practice, not just a one-off thing. It's intentional. It requires a foundation that we put effort into. And the payoff is that we can make a positive difference in someone else's life by returning kindness, and in our own by truly receiving kindness in the first place. Kindness might be from a person, or it might just be that we choose to look upon beauty in nature or art or music with a grateful heart, letting it really nurture us. And I know it sounds simple. We teach our children to say thank you. Our faith traditions encourage a grateful heart. Gratitude may seem like a no-brainer, and yet when I began an investigation into gratitude, I discovered how powerful it can be and how much room there is for each of us to tap into its power, even if we think it's a value we already hold. The science around gratitude is striking beyond what we might intuitively know is good about gratitude. There's so much research now to back this up. And I'll go back to the science and what I've learned about the power of gratitude in a few moments. But I don't want to just talk. I'm a fan of experiential learning. I want you to experience the effects of gratitude. As I mentioned earlier, I want to lead you in a 12-minute guided meditation. And I realize some of you may be groaning inside, thinking you're not good at meditating, or you're worrying you're going to fall asleep, or you just don't want to do it. Well, I understand. And there are probably also some of you out there who are glad to hear this. Maybe meditation is on your daily checklist as a self-care item, or even a prescription from your doctor, and you're thinking, well, this part of the talk is an unexpected opportunity to cross that off the list. But I suspect that most of you are neutral, and I'd like all of us to approach this meditation as neutrally as we can. Let's just see where it takes us. My intention is, once you've closed your eyes and listened to these words, that you'll feel a sense of calm. But I mostly want you to be open to see where this experience takes you. Our mind is like a parachute. It doesn't work if it's not open. I ask you to try to acknowledge whatever expectations you're holding and just let them go. So what I like to do when I meditate is I like to have my feet flat on the floor and have your back straight enough so that you can breathe deeply and fully, but still maintain a comfortable posture. And if you want to, you can place your hands in your lap and just close your eyes, and we will begin. So, in this meditation, I'll be bringing your awareness to things in your life that you're grateful for. And just give gratitude the chance to come up naturally. That feeling of appreciation, a recognition, grace, thankfulness, however you want to think about it. And when it comes up, just let yourself sink into the feeling and surrender to it. Just notice how it feels in your body, and notice what kind of energy comes from feeling grateful. And if it doesn't come up, that's okay. You don't need to try to make yourself feel it. Just relax into it if you can. And when your mind wanders to something else, you can always come back to the breath, the in-breath and the out-breath. So let's flash through all aspects of your life that you might be grateful for. And first, bring your awareness to your breath. As you inhale and as you exhale, the in-breath and the out-breath, and the fact that each of these breaths gives you life. Then be aware of your heart beating, pulsing, filling with love and compassion and peace, and just flowing back out. Now bring awareness to your eyes that let you see color, faces, smiles, nature, the sunrise, the sunset, the moon, and the stars. Bring awareness to your ears that beam in sound, music, laughter, the voices of those you love, the silence, the beautiful sounds of life. Now bring awareness to your nose that smells the ocean, the scent of sweet perfume, the flowers, the trees, newly cut grass, the aromas that come from the kitchen. Bring your awareness to your lips and mouth that tastes and savors and nourishes, kisses and speaks, that whispers and sings. Bring your awareness to your hands that hold and touch and caress and open and close and applaud and squeeze. And to the arms and shoulders that carry and hug and lift and stretch. Bring awareness to your feet, your toes, the gift to wiggle them, transport you, walk, run, and dance. And think too about your tears, your sorrows, the strength that you seem to be able to muster to make it through each day. Bring your awareness to your abundance, to love and light, and your ability to see growth and potential in every moment. Now just breathe and feel more grace and ease. And now experience the warmth, love, and compassion that gratitude brings into your heart. Now drift your awareness to nurturing relationships in your life, the new ones and the old ones. And think of love in your life and your connection to those things that are sweet and loving and honorable, and just feel right. And now just breathe and know that when we no longer take life for granted, we can become grateful for everything in our lives. And I want to end the meditation with this poem by Melody Beattie. Gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough and more. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos to order, confusion to clarity. It can turn a meal into a feast, a house into a home, a stranger into a friend. Gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. So, thank you for indulging me in doing that. And just take a moment to notice how you feel, and fingers crossed this was a positive experience for you. But it's just one of the tools I use, but I do think it's a powerful one. When we can take the time to really set our intention, it makes so many things fall into place. I find that when we do this meditation, we naturally start to give thanks for small things as they come up, sometimes silently to ourselves, like when we notice a flower or the angle of light coming in through the window, and sometimes out loud to people we meet out in the world or to the people we love. So, why is this important? You might be thinking you already have a list of things you're supposed to do to care for others or to care for your health. And there are things to do at work, or you've been wanting to volunteer in your community. Why add a gratitude practice? The idea is it's not an addition, it's a perspective. Think of it as a lens through which you choose to look. It's a way of approaching the world that can dramatically increase your happiness and even your health. I'd like to share with you what we have found to be the most compelling evidence that gratitude is a habit worth creating, and explain a little bit about how it works. Keep in mind, entire books have been written about the science of gratitude. But one of our favorites is called Thanks, How the New Science of Gratitude Can Make You Happier, written by Dr. Robert Emmons, who's the leading expert in the science of gratitude. He's a professor of psychology at the University of California, Davis. And Dr. Emmons defines gratitude as having two parts. First, he says it's the affirmation of goodness. This is the process of waking up to the good around you and noticing the gifts you've received. It's a first step of awareness and a mental labeling of what you've been given. It's choosing to see what is offering light. We're expanding our attention and perceiving more of the goodness we're always receiving. The second step, according to Dr. Emmons, is recognizing that the source of this goodness rests outside of oneself. We acknowledge that we receive gifts from other people, or from God, or from a higher power, or from fate, or from the natural world, whatever works for you. So it's a two-step process. First, to acknowledge and affirm gifts, and then to recognize that the source of goodness lies beyond the self. And so, what happens when we take on a gratitude outlook? Well, as I've hinted, studies show that our happiness increases. People who practice gratitude report being measurably happier and more pleasant to be around. Gratitude offers psychological, physical, and interpersonal benefits. So let's talk about how that works by first focusing on how taking the time to appreciate small moments of beauty can transform our lives and our relationships to the world. Gratitude and mindfulness are connected. When we adopt a mindful approach, we notice small things that we might miss if we're distracted, or if we're in a hurry, or if we're preoccupied, or if we're multitasking. I'm guilty of all those things. If we gloss over opportunities to experience beauty and joy because we're not paying attention, we might mistakenly believe that there's little out there to appreciate and feel grateful for. If instead we slow down with an open heart, we're likely to find many things to be grateful for. Think about the small moments of unexpected beauty that send a rush of happiness. It could be a bumblebee enjoying a flower, a vibrantly colored leaf in the fall, a beautiful seashell from the beach right here in Boca Grande. And children can be excellent at seeing the things we don't, sometimes because they're at a different height and have a different vantage point, and sometimes just because they haven't lost that spirit of wonder. They marvel over things that are new to them that we've seen 100 times. They see shapes in the clouds when we're looking down instead of up. If we can try to approach our days with that kind of curiosity and openness, and then give thanks for everything that surprises us, we're going to be better able to connect with people and to approach our work, our faith, our parenting, just about everything with more optimism. Visual cues are just one example. We can pay attention in other ways. If we're cooking a meal, we can give thanks for all the ingredients and everyone who made them possible, and then do them justice and by truly and mindfully enjoying each bite. Our food nourishes us better when we're focused on taking in its goodness rather than trying to rush through it. Mindfulness puts our body in rest and digest mode so that we can make use of the nutrients of the food. Giving thanks helps us to get into that mindful space. And when we practice gratitude in our homes and in our daily lives, we set the stage for ripples out into our community. We can give and receive compliments from strangers, an experience that raises oxytocin for both parties. As humans, we're wired to connect. Connection makes us feel safe and capable. The more we cultivate a grateful heart, the better able we are to seek out and appreciate connections with others. We can have empathy and help a friend. We can seek out companionship and share our concerns with others in a meaningful way. When we feel heard and take the time to acknowledge that positive feeling, we're more likely to reciprocate. Gratitude helps us bond with others and create strong, nurturing relationships. When we feel more connected, our relationship to the world is changed, and we are in a position to change the world for the better. It really is a beautiful cycle, and gratitude really is the way to peace and understanding. And I know that may seem a little Pollyanna, but it's not always, and I know that it's not always easy to look on the bright side and count your blessings when times are tough. I understand difficulties arise. No one is immune. And I'm not trying to tell you to be grateful because will eliminate problems. This is not a quid pro quo. Being grateful is not going to reward you with a problem-free life. But what a gratitude mindset will do is to help you through life's ups and downs. It provides a cushion. When we've practiced gratitude, we have an easier time bouncing back because our brain has gotten used to being grateful. Our patterns of thinking are like paths in the forest. If we keep walking in one direction, the trail will be easier to find and to follow. Our neural pathways work in a similar way. If we regularly tell ourselves negative stories, those are the ones that we will believe, especially when stressful events arise. If, on the other hand, we've built up a strong network of positive narratives, it will be easy for us to fall back on those when times are tough. We will be more resilient. Our brains truly have been shown to be plastic. They can change and adapt. Just because we're used to walking down one path does not mean we can't choose another and make it our go-to way of approaching life. We don't have to wait for something good to happen. We can create good on our own with our minds. Even when we're not faced with beauty or joy in the immediate, we can decide to call upon positive memories and give thanks to those. For some people, keeping a gratitude journal helps when they find themselves fixating on something negative. They can look at a list and instead shift their focus to a remembered moment of happiness or joy and sink into that. It takes some work, but we can put into place structures that will help us invite positive rather than negative feelings to take up our inner space. This also builds resilience. Sometimes that resilience, in turn, leads us to make healthier choices and then benefits us in other ways. Grateful people tend to be more physically active and make healthier eating choices. These decisions often lead to better health. Moving our bodies and getting out into nature are good for our heart and mind. Cultivating gratitude also soothes the nervous system and calms the body. When we regularly practice retreating from a high alert fight or flight state and learn how to bring our body back into what is called the parasympathetic calming mode, we can feel more in control and make better decisions. I recently had an experience that showed me how this worked. My daughter was experiencing stomach problems and went in for a colonoscopy, I can't really say that word, and an endoscopy. And after she had the procedure, the doctor sat us down and informed us that she had Crohn's disease. When I saw my daughter's face crumple, okay, I practiced this. I wasn't supposed to do that. Okay. So when I saw my daughter's face crumpled, I did just what I did just then. And I crumpled too. Because we both have trauma around this disease. My husband's sister had it and went through 39 surgeries. I did practice this a million times so I wouldn't do this. But anyway, it would have been easy for us to start thinking the worst and imagining a difficult road ahead for my daughter. But the doctor assured us that much has happened in the medical field in the last 30 to 40 years. It took us some time to shift, but we were able to be grateful for this information and the early diagnosis. We could reframe the conversation. I told my daughter that we would figure this out. We have a lot to be grateful for. We know many people who can help her. She has a family that loves her and is going to support her every step of the way. We leaned into gratitude for the way medicine has evolved and for, okay, sorry guys, but for having access to information and care that will help us manage the situation. We also counted ourselves grateful for the doctor's excellent bedside manner. He was so sweet. He had many patients, but took the time to patiently explain the situation to us. I came away from that experience also grateful for having found my way to a gratitude practice. Gratitude can transform your life. My parenting, my experience as a daughter, as a mother, as work, everything, my faith is enhanced when I practice gratitude. I used to think that merit and hard work were the keys to success, and that success was the key to happiness. At times, I might have thought it was my fault if I were unhappy, and I thought that of other people too, that if they were unhappy, they just needed to work harder. Now, after years of studying and practicing mindfulness and gratitude, I'm beginning to understand the goodness in God and in others in a way I did not appreciate before. I get that I benefit from goodness that is outside of me, and I'm able to receive it. I have much more empathy and compassion. I can see how my choices impact my happiness, but I also understand that it's really about the choice to be grateful for all that is outside of my control. So I'll close with a few strategies you might want to try if you're looking to shift to a gratitude mindset. First, you can find that meditation that I led earlier and many others on our Health Gig podcast. In fact, we release a new meditation every week. Another strategy that I mentioned was journaling. Some people like to make a list every morning or evening of everything they're grateful for. You might decide to start by jotting down even one thing each day and then maybe increase it to 3 things. It's nice to look at this on paper in an actual journal or notepad, but you could also just use an app on your phone or email or text yourself. Since connecting with others is such a powerful tool that can induce the flow of endorphins, you might consider enlisting a gratitude friend. You could agree to text one another each day in the morning or evening with your quick list. Maybe something you share will help the other person take stock of their day in a different way. You can also set a goal of saying thank you at least 10 times a day. It could be to other people or to God. If you have children or grandchildren, obviously this is great modeling. Even if you start a meal with grace, you can give thanks to the land where your food was cultivated and the people who harvested it and prepared it. You can also give thanks before bed for things like shelter and warmth and other people. Some people find that these ideas are plenty. Others like to include elements of ritual, like lighting a candle or saying a certain prayer. So just do what works for you. But whatever you choose, know that you're filling your cup and making a positive difference in the world around you by choosing to cultivate this gratitude outlook. Although difficult circumstances may come your way, and goodness knows there are a lot of challenges in the world, everyone benefits when more of us hold a space for gratitude in our hearts and minds. Thank you.
said she would take a few moments to answer any questions and entertain those. So does anybody have a moment or two? I mean, a question that they want to throw at her? Or are you all good and happy and ready to go home? Grateful. That's right. Are you
Grateful.
good and grateful and ready to go home? Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
We appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.